A capital city is the municipality enjoying primary status in a country, state, province, or other region, usually as its seat of government. A capital is typically a city that physically encompasses the offices and meeting places of its respective government. The status as capital is often designated by its law or constitution. In some jurisdictions, including several countries, the different branches of government are located in different settlements. In some cases, a distinction is made between the official capital and the seat of government, which is in another place. Terminology. The word capital derives from the Latin caput, meaning head. In several English-speaking states, the terms county town, county seat, and borough seat are also used in lower subdivisions. In unitary states, subnational capitals are commonly known as administrative centers. An alternative term is head town. The capital is often, but not necessarily, the largest city of its constituent. Origins. Historically, the major economic center of a state or region often becomes the focal point of political power, and becomes a capital through conquest or federation. Examples are ancient Babylon, Abbasid Baghdad, Berlin, Constantinople, ancient Cusco, London, ancient Athens, Madrid, Moscow, Rome, Beijing, Stockholm, Tokyo, and Vienna. The capital city naturally attracts politically motivated people and those whose skills are needed for efficient administration of national or imperial governments, such as lawyers, political scientists, bankers, journalists, and public policy makers. Some of these cities are or were also religious centers, e.g., Constantinople, Rome, Jerusalem, ancient Babylon, Moscow, Belgrade, Paris, and Peking. Examples are Accra, Athens, Belgrade, Bratislava, Brussels, Bucharest, Budapest, Buenos Aires, Bujumbura, Cairo, Copenhagen, Dublin, Kigali, Lima, Lisbon, London, Madrid, Manila, Montevideo, Mexico City, Nairobi, Paris, Prague, Riga, Santiago, Seoul, Skopje, Sofia, Stockholm, Tirana, Tokyo, Taipei, Ulaanbaatar, and Vienna. The convergence of political and economic or cultural power is by no means universal. Traditional capitals may be economically eclipsed by provincial rivals, e.g., Nanking by Shanghai, Quebec City by Montreal, and numerous U.S. state capitals. The decline of a dynasty or culture could also mean the extinction of its capital city, as occurred at Babylon and Cahokia. Although many capitals are defined by constitution or legislation, many long-time capitals have no legal designation as such. For example, Bern, Edinburgh, Lisbon, London, Paris, and Wellington. They are recognized as capitals as a matter of convention, and because all or almost all the country's central political institutions, such as government departments, Supreme Court, legislature, embassies, etc., are located in or near them. Modern capitals. Counties in United Kingdom have historic county towns, which are often not the largest settlement within the county and often are no longer administrative centres, as many historical counties are now only ceremonial, and administrative boundaries are different. In Canada, there is a federal capital, while the 10 provinces and 3 territories all have capital cities. The states of such countries as Mexico, Brazil, and Australia all have capital cities. For example, the 6 state capitals of Australia are Adelaide, Brisbane, Hobart, Melbourne, Perth, and Sydney. In Australia, the term capital cities is regularly used to refer to the aforementioned state capitals plus the federal capital Canberra and Darwin, the capital of the Northern Territory. In the Federal Republic of Germany, each of its constituent states has its own capital city, such as Dresden, Wiesbaden, Mainz, Dusseldorf, Stuttgart, and Munich. Likewise, each of the republics of the Russian Federation has its own capital city. Planned capital cities. Many capital cities were planned by government to house the seat of government of the nation or subdivision. Some planned capitals include La Plata, Buenos Aires Province, Argentina; Abuja, Nigeria; Aracaju, Sergipe, Brazil; Ankara, Turkey; Austin, Texas, USA; Belmopan, Belize; Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, Brazil; Dhaka, Bangladesh; Brasilia, Brazil; Canberra, Australia; Goiânia, Goiás, Brazil; Indianapolis, Indiana, USA; Islamabad, Pakistan; Frankfort, Kentucky, USA; Jefferson City, Missouri, USA; Zhongxing New Village, Taiwan; New Delhi, India; Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, USA; Ottawa, Ontario, Canada; Palmas, Tocantins, Brazil; Quezon City, Philippines; Raleigh, North Carolina, USA; Valletta, Malta; Washington, D.C., USA; and Wellington, New Zealand. These cities satisfy one or both of the following criteria: a deliberately planned city that was built expressly to house the seat of government, superseding a capital city that was in an established population center. There have been various reasons for this, including overcrowding in that major metropolitan area, and the desire to place the capital city in a location with a better climate. A town that was chosen as a compromise among two or more cities, none of which was willing to concede to the other the privilege of being the capital city. Usually, the new capital is geographically located roughly equidistant between the competing population centers. Some examples of the second situation are Canberra, Australia, which was chosen as a compromise located between Melbourne and Sydney; Frankfort, Kentucky, which is midway between Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky; Ottawa, Canada, which is located along the boundary between the province of Ontario and the province of Quebec, the two most populous of the 10 provinces, midway between their respective provincial capitals, Toronto and Quebec City. Tallahassee, Florida, was chosen as the midpoint between Pensacola and St. Augustine, Florida, then the two largest cities in Florida. Wellington, New Zealand, which is located at the southern tip of the North Island of New Zealand, the more populous island, immediately across the Cook Strait from the South Island. The capital city was moved there from Auckland, which is much further north in the North Island, after a long argument for a more central location for Parliament. Changes in a nation's political regime sometimes result in the designation of a new capital. The newly independent Kazakhstan moved its capital to the existing city of Akmola. Naypyidaw was founded in Burma's interior as the former capital. Rangoon was claimed to be too overcrowded. Unusual capital city arrangements. A number of cases exist where states have multiple capitals, and there are also several states that have no capital. There is also a ghost town which currently serves as the de jure capital of a territory. Plymouth in Montserrat, Chile. Santiago is the capital even though the National Congress of Chile meets in Valparaiso, Czech Republic. Prague is the sole constitutional capital. Brno is home to all three of the country's highest courts, making it the de facto capital of the Czech judicial branch. Estonia. The Supreme Court and the Ministry of Education and Research are located in Tartu. Finland. During the summer, the president resides at the Kulturanta in Naantali. Presidential sessions of the government are held there as well. France. The French constitution does not recognize any capital city in France. By law, Paris is the seat of both houses of parliament, but their joint congresses are held at the Palace of Versailles. In case of emergency, the seat of the constitutional powers can be transferred in another town, in order for the houses of parliament to keep seating in the same location of the president and cabinet. Germany. The official capital Berlin is home to the parliament and the highest bodies of the executive branch. Various ministries are located in the former West German capital of Bonn, which now has the title Federal City. The Federal Constitutional Court has its seat in Karlsruhe. which as a consequence is sometimes called Germany's judicial capital. None of Germany's highest judicial organs are located in Berlin, Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur is the constitutional capital and seat of parliament, but the federal administrative center and judiciary were moved 30 kilometers south to Putrajaya, Montenegro. The official capital Podgorica is home to the parliament and the executive, but the seat of the presidency is in the former royal capital of Seatanj, Myanmar. Naypyidaw was designated the national capital in 2005, the same year it was founded, but most government offices and embassies are still located in Yangon. Nauru. Nauru, a microstate of only 21 square kilometers, has no distinct capital city, and thus has a capital district instead. Sri Lanka. Sri Jayawardenepura Kota is the official capital and the location of the parliament, while the former capital, Colombo, is now designated as the commercial capital. However, many government offices are still located in Colombo. Both cities are in the Colombo district. South Africa. The administrative capital is Pretoria, the legislative capital is Cape Town, and the judicial capital is Bloemfontein. This is the outcome of the compromise that created the Union of South Africa in 1910. Switzerland. Bern is the federal city of Switzerland and functions as de facto capital. However, the Swiss Supreme Court is located in Lausanne, Tanzania. Dodoma was designated the national capital in 1973, but most government offices and embassies are still located in Dar es Salaam, Monaco, Singapore, and the Vatican City, as well as the territories of Hong Kong and Macau as city-states, and thus do not contain any distinct capital city as a whole. However, in Singapore's case, the country's downtown core serves as a de facto capital. Similarly, while Victoria was the capital of colonial Hong Kong, the District of Central serves as the seat of government offices today. Capitals that are not the seat of government. There are several countries where, for various reasons, the official capital and de facto seat of government are separated. Benin. Porto Novo is the official capital, but Cotonou is the seat of government. Bolivia. Sucre is still the constitutional capital, but most of the national government long ago abandoned that region for La Paz, Ivory Coast. Yamoussoukro was designated the national capital in 1983, but most government offices and embassies are still located in Abidjan, Georgia. Since 2012, the seat of government has been Kutaisi, but the president's residence and the Supreme Court remain in Tbilisi, the official capital. Netherlands. Amsterdam is the constitutional national capital, even though the Dutch government, the parliament, the Supreme Court, the Council of State, and the Work Palace of the King are all located in The Hague, as are all the embassies. Philippines. As provided by Presidential Decree No. 940, Metropolitan Manila, as a whole, is the Philippines' seat of government, while the city of Manila is the capital city. South Africa. There are three capitals for South Africa. Pretoria is the seat of the executive branch of government, Cape Town is the legislative capital, and Bloemfontein is the judicial capital. Disputed capitals. Israel. Jerusalem is claimed as the capital of both Israel and Palestine. Israel's presidential residence, government offices, Supreme Court and Parliament are located there. But the UN and most countries take the position that the final status of Jerusalem is unsettled pending future negotiations. Most countries maintain their diplomatic missions to Israel in Tel Aviv, while diplomatic missions to Palestine are in various places such as Ramallah, Gaza City, Cairo and Damascus. Intergovernmental organizations. European Union. Brussels is generally considered as the seat of the European Union, alongside Strasbourg, where the European Parliament has its official seat and votes because it hosts the major institutions of the EU. The judiciary and some of the executive's work are located in Luxembourg and other bodies and agencies in other cities. Although the main seats are fixed in the EU's treaties which form its legal basis, they do not use the term capital for any city. Europol. The Hague, United Nations. New York City is the main meeting place of the highest bodies of the UN, but significant parts of its structure exist in other cities, notably Vienna, Geneva, Nairobi and The Hague. United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. Paris Food and Agriculture Organization. Rome. African Union. Addis Ababa and Madrid. Arab League. Cairo. Asian Development Bank. Manila. Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Jakarta. Commonwealth of Nations. London. European Organization for Nuclear Research. Meiring, a suburb of Geneva. Helsinki Commission. Helsinki. International Organization for Standardization. Geneva. Interpol. Lyon. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Brussels. Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Jeddah. Organization of Ibero-American States. Madrid. South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. Kathmandu. Union of South American Nations. Cochabamba and Quito. World Bank. Washington, D.C. World Tourism Organization. Madrid. The capital is a symbol. With the rise of modern empires and the nation-state, the capital city has become a symbol for the state and its government, and imbued with political meaning. Unlike medieval capitals, which were declared wherever a monarch held his or her court, the selection, relocation, founding, or capture of a modern capital city is an emotional event. For example, the ruined and almost uninhabited Athens was made capital of newly independent Greece in 1834, 4 years after the country gained its independence, with the romantic notion of reviving the glory of ancient Greece. Similarly, following the Cold War and German reunification, Berlin is now once again the capital of Germany. Other restored capital cities include Moscow after the October Revolution, a symbolic relocation of a capital city to a geographically or demographically peripheral location, maybe for either economic or strategic reasons. Peter I of Russia moved his government from Moscow to St. Petersburg to give the Russian Empire a Western orientation. The economically significant city of Napoleon became the first capital of Greece, instead of the then unimportant village that was Athens. The Ming emperors moved the capital to Peking from more central Nanking to better supervise the border with the Mongols. During the 1857 War of Independence, Indian rebels considered Delhi their capital and Bahadur Shah Zafar was proclaimed emperor, though the ruling British had their capital in Calcutta. In 1877, the British formally held a Durbar in Delhi, proclaiming Queen Victoria as Empress of India. Delhi finally became the colonial capital after the coronation Durbar of King Emperor George V in 1911, continuing as independent India's capital from 1947. Other examples include Abuja, Astana, Brasilia, Helsinki, Islamabad, Naypyidaw and Yamoussoukro. The selection or founding of a neutral capital city, i.e., one unencumbered by regional or political identities, was meant to represent the unity of a new state when Ankara, Turkey, Bern, Switzerland, Canberra, Australia, Madrid, Ottawa, Ontario, Washington, D.C., and Wellington, New Zealand became capital cities. Sometimes, the location of a new capital city was chosen to terminate squabbling or possible squabbling between various entities, such as in the cases of Canberra, Ottawa, Washington, and Wellington. The British-built town of New Delhi represented a simultaneous break in continuity with the past, the location of Delhi being where many imperial capitals were built, e.g., Indraprastha, Dilika, and Shahjahanabad, but the actual capital being the new British-built town designed by Edwin Lutyens. Wellington, located on the southwestern tip of the North Island of New Zealand, replaced the much more northerly city of Auckland in order to place the national capital close to the South Island and hence to placate its residents. During the American Civil War, tremendous resources were expended to defend Washington, D.C., which actually bordered on the Confederate States of America, from Confederate attack. Even though the relatively small federal government of the United States of that time could have been moved elsewhere. Likewise, great resources were expended by the Confederacy in defending the Confederate capital from attack by the Union. In its deliberately exposed location of Richmond, Virginia, barely 100 miles south of Washington,